vaccine passport. Again, my mum downloaded it, ready to go on holiday. Yes, one of those naughty Amber List people. Wasn't she terrible? After her double jab, to prove that she's got her double vaccine, and so she can get into France. But now it's been updated, and these apps, most people just click on, it just update automatically. It's updated to add a lot of other things. Now, special category data has been added. So information relating to the individual's physical or mental health condition, not just related to vaccinations. Information relating to the family. This is what's written on the app. I'm not making this stuff up. Information relating to the family of the individual and the individual's lifestyle and social circumstances is on the app. Information which relates to the ethnic origin of the individual. Information relating to the genetic biometric details where processed to uniquely identify an individual, and criminal convictions or alleged criminal behaviour. What the hell has any of that got to do with proving whether you've had 2 jabs or not?
They're constantly monitored by facial recognition cameras that are able to instantly put a face to a name. Now the Chinese are also ranked, given a mark out of a possible 950 points. A score in the 700s is considered good. Around the 500 mark is not.
It forces us to be well behaved.
And then there's Zhou Aini. She's an information collector, a paid enforcer who walks around and writes down deeds about her neighbors. Like the man who carried a drunk person home. Things like this are good deeds, she said. But the farmer overheard swearing and being rude, bad deeds. Her quota is 10 a month.
In countries such as India, there's little choice. People there must download a state-backed tracing app if they want to travel.
From January, every citizen of England and Wales will have a new social credit score. Government and private companies may use your social credit score to make decisions about you.
Search for your name online and a top hit may lead you to this page, mylife.com, a site that says it gathers data from public sources to create biographical reports. It may include everything from your address to criminal history. That data then used to generate a reputation score.
A bad reputation can hurt you personally and professionally.
Australians forced to submit 100 points of identification like their driver's license or passport when using social media accounts like Facebook and Twitter. Now, police would have access to those social media accounts, and it's all part of a crackdown on online abuse. Now, users could be liable for defamation suits or even criminal prosecution, and it's all part of a plan hoping to deter people from engaging in bad behaviour. Now, the recommendations were handed down by a federal parliamentary inquiry.
It's called Immuniband, a first-of-its-kind wearable piece of vaccine identification. It's nothing extravagant, but it's valuable for sure. It's a wristband that has a QR code on the back that links to your vaccination card. So there's an ability to access the initial documentation.
While the world still waits for a COVID jab, China has come up with a way to limit the virus's spread. It's calling for a global firewall in the form of a global system of QR codes that would allow cross-border travel to resume.
China has proposed a global mechanism for the mutual recognition of health certificates based on nucleic acid test results in the form of internationally accepted QR codes. We hope more countries will join this mechanism.
China has been using QR codes to prove health status since February. The system has been questioned in the West on data privacy grounds, however, although Europe has proposed similar schemes, including the idea of immunity passports in the UK. RT Saskia Taylor discussed the issue with our panel of guests.
These tests can have a lot of false negatives and a lot of false positives. And you are now going to track and trace me where I'm going in terms of this town or that town. This is incredibly dangerous, and it's not really for my safety. And you're seeing in the United States, as well as across the globe, the people are starting to rise up and saying, enough, stop protecting me. I want to live my life the way I choose.
We look only, I was reading today at Heathrow Airport, used to be one of the busiest. It's seen 82% fall in passengers. What's the way then to get wheels out into the air, if not a similar system to this?
The reason that travel has collapsed is not the pandemic, it's the lockdowns. I mean, since March 12th, Europe has not been able to fly to the US, and then Europe retaliated and we can't fly there. And now we're living under this egregious situation where, yeah, we once believed in the right to travel, but that's being denied to us. I mean, people are being locked in their nation states right now. The answer is liberalism, is to liberate travel, liberate and recognize human rights again.
For the COVID-19 era, we need a safer and more secure way for all of us to travel and cross borders. Common Pass, an initiative of the Commons Project Foundation, aims to get the world moving again in a safer way by allowing you to securely document and share your COVID-19 vaccination and test status while keeping your health information private. You can use the Common Pass app directly or other approved third-party apps that are part of the Common Trust network. With Common Pass, you can learn the latest entry requirements of your destination, as well as certified Common Trust network providers, where you can get required COVID-19 tests or vaccinations. Common Pass allows for additional screening requirements, such as multiple tests or vaccination records. Once you complete your destination's entry requirements, Common Pass generates a secure QR code for you to show at check-in, boarding, and/or passport control for land, sea, and air travel. Common Pass and the Common Trust Network are non-profit initiatives that facilitate safer travel by enabling you to control and share your verified COVID-19 status in a privacy-preserving manner with governments, airlines, trains, ships, hotels, and others. For more information, see commonpass.org.
This is part of a new reality for Quebecers, showing proof of vaccination to sit in a cafe.
The minute they want to sit here and they want to lean here and go like this, that means it's inside, then I got to scan.
But he says that's better than another lockdown. The vaccine passport now applies to non-essential services like restaurants, bars, gyms, movie theaters, and festivals for anyone over 12.
I'm all for it. I mean, we're all in the same boat.
Je suis contre le passeport vaccinal.
He says he's against the passport because it infringes on his freedom.
And that's the app, and that's done.
Staff at this library have been helping seniors with the technology. But if you don't have a smartphone, you can print a paper copy. Visitors to Quebec don't need the QR code, but do need proof they're vaccinated and photo ID. This restaurant is one of many getting used to the new rules, but the owners worry about backlash.
We want everyone to understand that this is not our choice. This is being mandated by the government. We can be shut down if we allow unvaccinated people in here.
There's benches across the street.
Wilson Liu decided to close his restaurant's dining area, doing takeout only to bypass the passport.
We believe in its equality, you know what I mean? It's your body, your choice. I'm fully vaccinated myself, but you know what I mean? Like, everybody has their choice.
There have been protests against the passport, and the Premier says he knows some won't like it.
But I think that the vast majority of the population, they support the passport. They want to return back to a normal life.
And while it might convince some to get vaccinated, this expert says it could turn others off.
But then you also get a group of people that then sort of generate suspicion. So as many people as you gain, you might also lose as well.
For the first couple of weeks, the province says there will be a grace period to allow businesses and clients a chance to adjust to the passport. But after that, those who don't comply could be fined. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
As Australia inches closer to opening up, our vaccination status is more important than ever. In New South Wales, proof of vaccination will be required for essential workers in hotspots from September 19. Victoria is planning a trial of vaccine passports, while the music industry has launched a campaign to get punters vaxxed and back to the pub.
The digital transformation, it's really just beginning, and it's a prime candidate for vast new growth.
Like any great transformation, the costs are enormous, but the benefits are enormous too.
More value is out there for society than for industry.
But the real costs, in terms of jobs, in terms of identity, are still to come.
So the question we will have to address is how do we help the transformation for those that do not benefit and actually could be subject to changes that are going to be more painful and difficult for them.
Every role is going to change. Someone repairing a windmill, someone managing a retail store, and someone getting ready for a customer meeting. All those roles are going to change because of how information technology is creating that change.
So, picture your life in a place where everything you do, what you buy, how you behave, is tracked. The government gives you a score, and the score is a measure of how trustworthy you are as a citizen and determines what you're allowed to do, like ever. Boarding a train, getting a mortgage, all goes back to this score. It's called social credit. It sounds like that show Black Mirror, but it's actually happening in China. So how does that change you? Does it change you? What does your life look like when your every move is watched? The system's eyes are in big data, artificial intelligence, and roughly 200 million surveillance cameras. And that's totally fine with Ouyang Haoyu. She's 21, graduated from a good school with solid grades. She's diligent. She's nice. No surprise, she's a 752. That's her rating with Sesame Credit, a private company working with the government on the algorithms for the social credit system. The scores go from 350 to 950 and are based on habits and behavior. Buy clothes or diapers, it's good. A lot of alcohol, too many video games, not so good. Haoyu's 752 puts her in model citizen range and gets her discounts and privileges, like using a shared bike without a deposit. She likes it. Her friends do too. They all have pretty high scores.
It's a mechanism like pushes you to become a better citizen, to build on the trust, especially on the Chinese market.
Because you're not going to be punished if you haven't done anything wrong.
I think that's the point. I think the system is working as a warning or an alert to push people to do it, to be a good person.
And it's mandatory. When it goes national, social credit scores will be assigned to every one of China's citizens for life. And what's weird is that so many people seem okay with it.
Canada's most populous province will soon require proof of full COVID-19 vaccination before entering bars, gyms, restaurants, and more. After Ontario broke the news on Wednesday, several hundred people marched through the streets of Toronto in protest. Some carried signs saying, "My body, my choice," and "Make Canada free again." While Ontario Premier Doug Ford was initially opposed to the idea on the grounds that it would create a split society, he said the spread of the Delta variant made additional steps necessary. Later this month, people will need proof to enter establishments, and next month, that vaccine information will be stored as a digital passport on mobile devices. Ontario follows 3 other provinces in the country opting for the passports. It's an issue that's featured on Canada's federal election campaign, where Prime Minister Justin Trudeau regularly criticizes anti-vaxxers. His government last month said it would mandate many workers, including all federal public servants, to be vaccinated. Trudeau's opponents, however, have suggested rapid testing as an alternative to vaccine passports.
Mayor Rick Blangiardi announced today that starting September 13th, you'll need to show proof of a COVID vaccination or a negative COVID test to get into restaurants, bars, gyms, and other venues on Oahu. Blangiardi says this is the best way to avoid another lockdown. Manolo Morales has more.
The program is called Safe Access Oahu. Customers will be required to show their vaccination card or a photo of it at the door or a negative COVID test result within the past 48 hours to get in.
We don't want a lockdown, but we need to all work together to ensure we don't have to do that. And this is a good, safe way to get it done.
The mayor says the city will track cluster reports and the Liquor Commission will investigate businesses suspected of violating the rules.
Businesses that don't comply are going to probably be fined, and then ultimately, if we get a lot of problems, we'll shut them down. This is in the name of public health, and there's a lot of leverage in our office to do things like this.
The head of the Hawaii Restaurant Association says businesses in the lowest vaccinated areas will be hurt the most, and some restaurants might just choose to close their dining rooms. But the hope is to avoid losing customers completely.
Don't stop eating at your neighborhood restaurants. If you're not vaccinated and you're not going to get vaccinated, go get takeout. Don't stop eating in restaurants. We need you. We need the business.
The mayor also announced that alcohol will not be served after 10 p.m. He says the whole idea is to prevent the possibility of overwhelming our hospitals, and we're getting very close to that. The Safe Access Oahu program will be in place for 60 days.
And if we don't see an improvement in 60 days, then we will go to mandatory vaccinations.
נכנסתי, אמרו לי, אתה רוצה בבית או במלונית? אמרתי בבית. אמרו לי, אם אתה רוצה בבית, תיקח צמיד.
I used to be one of those people, like, I got nothing to hide, I'm just a student, but I was very wrong. They're targeting everyone. As long as you're going out of your house, you're being surveilled.
In Xinjiang, in northwestern China, 13 million Turkic Muslims are already enduring extraordinary suppression at the hands of the Chinese government. And authorities there are building a surveillance state to be able to track their every move.
Across the northwestern province of Xinjiang, an estimated 1 million Chinese Muslims have vanished into a vast network of detention centers for what China calls re-education.
The region is now under what's probably the most intense government surveillance in the world.
Every 200 meters would have a police checkpoint. And then on top of that, there are all these checkpoints at public places wherever you go. If you're Uyghur, they stop you. They would just say, "Where's your ID? I want to check your ID." They would punch in the ID number and then they would see everything about you.
One tool at the heart of Xinjiang's surveillance system is the IJOP, or the Integrated Joint Operations Platform. The IJOP has an app that's used by police and government officials to track extraordinary amounts of personal information about individuals, ranging from their religious habits to their blood type.
Human Rights Watch got a hold of a copy of the app and used a technique called reverse engineering to look at the source code, basically the design of the app. This is what it looks like when an officer pulls up an individual's profile. They enter the person's name, ID number, ethnicity, and then the officer takes a photo of the person's ID card to see if that matches the person's face. As you scroll, you see more information is being collected from the person, including their address, how tall they are, their blood type, their educational level, their occupation, their political affiliation, information about their car, license plate, driver's name, driver's ID card number.
On its surface, most of this information looks like standard fare for police, but as we dig deeper into the app, we can see that ordinary, routine legal behavior is being treated by authorities as suspect.
This is what it looks like when the IJOP system has flagged someone whose phone number the system has lost track of. The IJOP system sends an alert to government officials to go and investigate the reason why that phone number has gone missing, and note if this person is suspicious and requires further investigation. Or here's another example. This is a report that the IJOP system sends to government officials about someone who used an unusual amount of electricity. The report includes the date in which the unusual amount of electricity used was logged by the system, how much electricity was used, what was the meter reading, and what is the usual range of electricity used. Then the government official is required to go and investigate this person.
If you use WhatsApp or Viber or Telegram, that might be considered suspicious. If you go at the back door of your house instead of the front, the police might turn up to investigate. The list goes on. The information from the app feeds into a central system and combines with information from other surveillance systems, including CCTV cameras that rely on facial recognition software, and even Wi-Fi sniffers that are used as people walk through checkpoints to pull information off their phones. The IJOP system aggregates all this data about people, flags those it deems suspicious, and sends alerts to nearby officials. These dubious criteria are being used to identify large numbers of people, many of whom are then arbitrarily locked up.
In total, I spent about a month in different jails. I wasn't officially accused of anything or charged with anything. The official paperwork said something like, I was arrested under the suspicion of disrupting the societal order. Then after that, I was basically under house arrest, because they marked my ID card.
Italy is the latest country in Europe to announce a vaccine certificate system in an attempt to stem a rise in COVID-19 cases and persuade the unvaccinated to get a shot. The so-called Green Pass will be needed to get into public venues like gyms and theaters and to eat indoors at a restaurant. NBC News foreign correspondent Claudio Lavanga joins us now from Rome. Claudio, good morning. So we saw this similar type of thing play out in France. When France's government tried this, it was met with mixed opinions. What do Italians think of it? What's the reaction been so far there to this announcement?
Good morning, Savannah. Well, the vast majority of Italians seem to be in favor not only to the vaccination campaign, but also to the introduction of the Green Pass that will limit access to indoor places only to those who at least have a dose of the vaccine. Now, almost half of the adult population here in Italy is fully vaccinated now. A lot more, of course, got the first dose, and as a consequence, they are in favor of the Green Pass, and they will be allowed to get inside these restaurants and gyms and pools, whatever you name it, starting from August the 6th. But also, according to a latest survey, only 11% in Italy are the so-called no-vax, people who refuse the vaccination in the first place, and therefore they are against the introduction of the Green Pass.
We're also tracking the fallout from the vaccine mandate in New York City. 6 weeks, in just 6 weeks, on November 13th, you'll need to prove you've been vaccinated to get into bars and restaurants and gyms and most indoor entertainment venues in the city. But the question remains, how will that new rule be enforced? NYP Commissioner Dermot Shea said today he is not using his officers to do it. And the city's new no-vax, no-fun rule may have helped kill the auto show. The New York International Auto Show mentioned the vaccine requirement along with the increase in cases as possible reasons for their decision to cancel this year's show. And there's renewed interest in COVID testing in the city. News 4's Gus Rosendale found lines reminiscent of the past in Brooklyn.
In Williamsburg, long lines, ×2. First up, Michael getting tested off Bedford Avenue after a roommate developed a cough.
A lot of people don't wear masks around here, so you want to be overly cautious as possible.
Up next, across the street, another line outside a City MD. Henry holds a spot for himself and a friend, both getting ready for a trip to Puerto Rico.
Even if you're vaccinated, they still want you to bring in a test.
Henry's pal, Christian, unvaccinated, but that may soon change.
I might get vaccinated. I'm not a fan of it, though, but
the new rules are going to kind of
force you to get the vaccination.
Now is the historical moment, the time, not only to fight severe virus, but to shape the system.
We have a unique but rapidly shrinking window of opportunity to learn lessons and reset ourselves on a more sustainable path. It is an opportunity we have never had before and may never have again. So we must use all the levers we have at our disposal, knowing that each and every one of us has a vital role to play.
The Great Reset is a welcome recognition that this human tragedy must be a wake-up call. It is imperative that we reimagine, rebuild, redesign, reinvigorate, and rebalance our world. Rebalancing investment, harnessing science and technology, and advancing the transition to net zero emissions, all elements of the Great Reset, are fundamental to building the future.
This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset.
So we will see definitively a lot of anger already now, but probably increase by the end of the year.